am currently a law professor and Dean Emeritus at the Washington College of Law of American University. I have had an academic career teaching in Chile, in the Netherlands, where I lived for almost 10 years, and also in different academic centers in Latin America, Europe, Asia, you know, when you are in academia. So that has been important for my own development, being exposed to different language, cultures, and so forth. Also, from the point of view of my, let me say, life experiences, I was a member and president of the Inter-American Commission, the Committee Against Torture of the UN. I'm currently the president of the Inter-American Institute of Human Rights that organizes basically training in human rights law and research and publications. I also am a member of the International Law Commission. I was elected in 2017. And in terms of, I mean, things that have interest me are international law, the protection and promotion of human rights. And perhaps my own experience has been very important. I was a refugee for when the military coup took place in Chile, and I could not go back to Chile for 14 years, 13, 14 years. And for me has been very, very important then the promotion of the rule of law and human rights. And at the same time, very important has been education. I mean, it's the working in educational institutions. I mean, I will also say that I have an extensive litigation experience, not only in human rights. I was the agent of Chile in a case brought by Bolivia, the obligation to negotiate access, sovereign access to the Pacific Ocean. And before that, I was an advocate also before the International Court of Justice in a case brought by Peru against Chile. So these are things that, you know, my experience in international law is something that I value. I think the main strength of the Inter-American system is that it has mainstreamed, legitimate, validate human rights as an important value of human dignity. I mean, and the importance of the rule of law. From there, it has been very important in promoting processes that gears towards strengthening the rule of law and democracy. They include, for example, the separation of powers, freedom of expression, the role of the courts, rejection of discrimination of any sort, any type, a concept of reparation that is holistic, that includes, let me say, compensation, measures of satisfaction, measures of non-repetition, you know, capturing really what it means, reparation in the human rights field. In terms of weaknesses, I think that an important weakness has been the timely handling of petitions. It took 6 years and a half, more or less, as a media, for a case to be decided on the merits in the Inter-American Commission, and some takes much longer. The Commission has taken measures, the court has also, but there are issues of resources and issues of priorities. So that's a topic. Another topic is beyond the Commission and the Court, which is institutionalized solidarity for democracy and human rights. The political organs do not react as promptly as needed when we see countries entering into a slippery slope of violating rights. Or so it's necessary to strengthen also that political side. Well, when we started, as you say, I was the first rapporteur on the rights of women, and perhaps the only man that at that time had occupied that position. And there are different reasons for that, of course, the need, but also the fact that we were 7 men at that time, and some of us believe that there was no credibility in human rights if you know, we have rapporteurs on freedom of expression and rights of indigenous populations, but the situation of the women in the Americas was not second to those. And there was an issue, of course, a discussion, because the idea that a man would be a rapporteur on women, and they say, okay, where is the hypocrisy present here? You have 7 men and you want to do, quote, things for women. But we decide to bite that bullet, in the sense of saying we had been elected and we needed to discharge possibilities. And what we did at that time was to think of that process not something we were simply doing, we the enlightened for women, and we designed process of participation, which were limited. It would have been the best to have a different composition of the position, but we could not wait. And we decided, for example, to convoke women, men, write reports denouncing the, let me see what we saw at that time, violations in terms of discrimination in the law and discrimination in practice. We were not, I mean, the only ones. There was but we participated into it. There was a process that led to the approval of the Convention of Belém do Pará against violence against women. And it's unbelievable when we look at that time, there were people saying, well, the way in which I treat my wife in my home is a private matter. You guys don't have anything to do with it. Now, we will condemn that. You can imagine somebody saying that. So that's why I say that some of these changes with hindsight are very clear. Prospectively, they were not clear at all. The same thing happened with the prohibition against disappearances. But going back to gender issues, what motivated me and others was the violations of human rights existing concerning women. Domestic violence, feminicide. And these were the most extreme forms. But in terms of access to education, I mean, I mean, the equality before the law, the handling of the property in marriage, the situation of women in case of a separation. As a feminist said once, poverty is dressed with the dressing of a woman who divorced and had 1 or 2 children. I mean, the man will go up in terms of his economic situation and the women will go down. The divorce law, if they existed in some countries, where now, not to talk about the control of women of their own bodies. So we started the process. Actually, we didn't start the process. Women started the process. But we accompany it. And, you know, we're not the center of this. The center of it is that women don't take it any longer. You know, let me be clear. When you say I am one of the You know, we accompany a process, supported the process. That was the role. You know, 80%, around 80% of the Chileans voted for a new constitution. And there is something very important on that. There is an overwhelming support for constitutional change. And the fact that it's the first constitution in the world with gender parity, undoubtedly, is essential. Theoretically, some people say, well, you know, why do we need to impose parity? Huh? We need to have the best. Or some people, but you know, the point of departure is that there is not a level playing field due to many reasons. So you need to have these measures that require the presence of women, because otherwise it will not happen because of many reasons that were structural and preceded the adoption of this text. If you have committees of appointment in universities, by a certain process of cellular reproduction, they find people that look like them as excellent candidates. So the composition of the committee anticipates to a certain extent the result. And this is not an issue of preferring one ideology or one approach against others. Chile have assertive people and women, presidents of parties that are from the right, the candidates from the left, the center, and so forth. So this is not a ideological approach from a narrow party's point of view. I mean, you have, you know, change is easier when it took place already. And that sounds like women, you know, are the main actors here, and they influence everyone else. So I think that will mark the convention in terms of the contents of the non-discrimination, in terms of provisions involving the need of positive action, not last abstention of action in some matters. It will have an impact in terms of some things that are very widespread in Chile. They need to have access to education, I mean, to quality education, decent pensions, and quality health. So I think that will have this is a positive thing. Well, I would suggest, first of all, to study well the legal tradition, because that's an important point of departure. And we have different concepts of justice in many occasions, but we have a common ground and a common domain. This common domain does not mean that we interpret it always, or in many cases, in the same way. Every case that gets to the International Court of Justice or to the many cases before arbitral tribunals or supervisory organs in human rights have different ways of being interpreted. But the legal tradition offers a domain that you need to know in order to practice law. And that seems sometimes too narrow. I mean, but you need to be, I mean, you need to know what are the supervisory organs, what are the possibilities, what is the text, what is the legal tradition. No. So that's one thing is important. The second thing that is important is to have life experiences. I support the idea of clinics, of internships, okay? Internships, for example, where you are with real life clients and you witness them. Because I think it's very important the practical learning and the practical experience to learn about the law, precisely because of the legal complexity. And it's very inspiring also. You know, what is this about? And I've always mentioned any person who works in human rights need to be victim-centered. This is not a question, oh, I believe in human rights, Article X believes. There are human beings, stories of human beings that are very important. They need to be taken into account. I also would like to say this, is two things. One is important to be creative and think out of the box. And I don't need to explain more why is that necessary. But it's also important to know that sometimes there are no possibilities of working full-time in human rights. There are not enough jobs. People made the mistake in many occasions not to have rich parents. I mean, it's and then they need to pay debts, and so forth. So sometimes if you devote all your energies and then you don't have time for a private life and so forth, you are not going to be a long time working in human rights. Because the combined impact of lack of resources and lack of time could extract the toll in you. And I think that in some occasions, the only thing that you can do is devote a proportion of your time. 1.5% of your time. I mean, if you work in a big law firm, I mean, if we were able to have the most important law firms devoting 1.5% for human rights, we will live in a better world. So some of them have pro bono work. So you can combine different things. But the idea of volunteering, you can make a tremendous differences if there are no conditions in working full time. Also, you can work part time.